All right, so I thought I'd go ahead and make a video to kind of address some things. So I'm actually here to talk to you about some recent comments that I've actually made on social media, and they've kind of stirred up a little contention. I've gotten some feedback from some people, and the topic was in regards to GLP-1s. And so, think Ozempic, Mounjaro, semaglutide, those things. Um, so I made some comments, and I know there's some people that are close to me, friends, family members that are actually on these peptides, and uh, I just thought I'd make a video and then just kind of expand on where my comments may have come from when it comes to these things. So, what you guys all may not know is though, while I've been quite vocal about using these peptides, especially in the context of nutrition, I actually have considered using them myself. There were some reasons why I decided to not go that route. Um, mainly because that I felt that I could have more issues than I'd have more issues than they would actually solve. So that was the main reason I decided to not go that route. But I think they have a lot of utility, and I think they're very fascinating, and I think they could be very useful, even though we don't have a lot of long-term data on um, outcomes using them. I, I I think that for many people they're really great, and I think they're really interesting. So there is that, and I just wanted people to know that I'm not trying to put you down or judge you for using these. I understand. Um, that's not where the posts come from. So just know that. Um, However, there was another point of contention that was kind of embedded in these recent posts, and that was this word moderation. So let's talk about moderation for a minute. This word really gets under my skin. It just really gets under my skin because what are we talking about? Moderate what? What's moderation? What does it mean? It, honestly, especially in this context, it has zero meaning because most people don't know how to define it. Like, they don't make bright lines around what moderation means to them and what are they trying to I mean, it's nonsense. It's absolute complete nonsense. And I mean, would we tell a recovering drug addict that it's okay to use their favorite drug, their former favorite drug, in moderation? No, we would never, ever, ever, ever do that. So can we please just stop using this word? Unless you're really going to hard line define it, let's just stop using this word full stop. Seriously. It's annoying, it's nonsense, it means nothing, period, full stop. Um, I just think the definition of the word is just so vague at best. And it's just the opinion of many, and I believe this too, that moderation really is just nearly impossible for most people in any context or any meaning of the word. Abstinence is almost always the best course of action. So, go ahead and ask yourself. You don't have to respond to me directly. And I kind of already had asked this on social media is, are you a moderator or are you an abstainer, and why? Um, I, I am kind of interested in knowing. You can make comments here or send me a message, but just really honestly, I'm really asking the question for you to ask yourself. Let's just be real about this word, and maybe Maybe we need to be better about how we use it and how we define it. Um, I'll go ahead and answer this question for myself though. I don't have a problem with doing that. And I feel like I'm I need to be an abstainer in 99% of things, honestly. I've tried the moderating thing. It just hasn't worked. I tried moderating carbohydrates for most specifically and moderating junk food and or things that may not be considered junk food, but it's junk food. It might be okay that I could get away with eating it. It doesn't affect me too negatively, at least in the short term. I need to be better at it for sure. And abstaining is definitely better for me. And I'll tell you, since starting on this journey and going with the carnivore diet, abstinence is definitely working better for me. I do, you know, it just yeah. So I definitely like to think of myself more of an abstainer. I definitely do better with abstaining from things. Will I slip up? Will I fall back into old habits? Sure. And I notice that I slip back into some even other, other not so bad, but still just old habits. But I feel like the longer that I abstain, uh, the better my success rate's going to be. So that's for me. You may be different, but like I said, at the end of the day, you really just got to make bright lines around things for yourself and kind of stay within those lines. You're just probably going to be better off overall. Um, so why did I make the comments that I made? Um, well, honestly, um, my concerns stem from my own relationship with food and my own journey that I've been on for a very, very, very long time. I'm not just talking my carnivore journey. I'm just talking about my journey struggle with weight, health, etc., 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 which is a lot longer than just these last, 4.5, 5 months that I've been doing this. Um, so as if you know me or you've been following this channel, you know that I had bariatric surgery a number of years ago. And because I had the gastric bypass, I have absorption issues. You also may know or may not know that ooh, it's been almost 3 years now. I had part of my bowel removed, part of my the duodenum of my small intestines was actually removed. So I have even more absorption issues beyond, way beyond just the issues that I had with gastric bypass. So what does this mean? Why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all this because I have absorption issues. It's just so vitally important that everything that I eat has to be of utmost high quality. It just needs to be nutrient dense. I don't have room in my diet to make too many nutrient poor decisions when it comes to what I eat, because everything I take in is just so vitally important. And because I had gastric bypass, I still eat less. So not only am I absorbing less through all those other mechanisms, I can only eat so much. So it's really super, super important that what I eat is high quality, nutrient dense. I don't have time for the bullshit. I, I, I don't have room for the bullshit. I can't afford it. Does that mean I never and never will and never ever will have some of that bullshit? No. But I'm really, really conscious of it, and I do everything I can every day to make sure that I'm sticking within those lines of just getting in that really high quality, nutrient dense food that I need. Now, how does this apply to you out there that is taking these GLP-1s, or you're on a diet where you're eating less energy calories than you require to maintain your body mass, your weight? Um, well, because you're in an energy deficit, the quality of your diet is also going to be very, very, very important, especially if your energy intake that you're getting from your food is quite low. It's going to be even more important that the food that you choose to eat on your diet be nutrient dense. That means you also don't have room for all that bullshit that you were eating before. It's so. Am I saying you can never have it? No, not saying that at all. I'm just saying that the majority, the vast, vast, vast majority, the bulk of your diet should be nutrient dense food, not that junk food that got you where you are. I mean, because let's just be honest. I've eaten the junk food. I grew up eating the junk food. I'm not going to lie, I still like the junk food. I just don't eat it because it doesn't serve me, it doesn't fuel me, it doesn't move me towards health. I just, period, full stop. So that's kind of where the post came from. Um, and so just know that as I am cautious about the use of things like these GLP-1 drugs, these peptides, I'm not against them. I just want to make sure that you know, because that you are eating less on these GLP-1s, because that's how they work, that you really need to pay attention to the quality of your diet. I mean, you'll hear that when you take these peptides that you really need to be cautious and make sure that you're getting in enough protein, but the other nutrients are important too. And the quality of that protein is important. The quality of the diet is important. So stop using the word moderation, please, and get in some nutrient dense food in your diet. Especially when you're doing this, your body's gonna thank you. You're gonna lose the weight, but you're gonna stay in good health. I really worry that people that are on these peptides, they're just not they're not getting the advice that they should be getting from their healthcare professionals. I just really worry about that. So just know that it comes from a good place. I'm not trying to be preachy, um, just so you know. So, what nutrients specifically, might we be missing out on? Um, and I'm going to touch on a few here. This is not an exhaustive list, and I'm going to try to keep it high level without getting too nerdy. Um, and we'll just talk about a few of these. And, if you have any specific questions about them, you can ask me, or, there's a lot of really great resources online. Just be cautious with those resources because there's a lot of bad information out there. So one of the nutrients that's is vitally important is essential amino acids. And what do I mean by essential? Well, what I mean by essential is you have to get them through your diet. You have to consume them. Now, while all food sources contain all of the essential amino acids, and there's 9 of them, um, plant sources often can be deficient in some of the critical ones. And that just means that you end up needing to consume more to get the levels of those specific essential amino acids that you might need. Animal sources are always going to be far superior. they're going to contain all of your essential amino acids, and they're almost exclusively always going to be in the amounts that you need. Um, so, yeah. The other problem with plant sources, so think beans, soy, often, those are two really common um, sources of protein and essential amino acids, especially in a plant based diet. The problem with these plant sources is they have anti-nutrients. Okay. Anti-nutrients are basically the plant's way of defending itself. You know, an animal, a mammal like a cow or whatever, they have the ability to defend themselves. They can run away. Plants can't run away. So plants develop these chemical responses, or they produce these chemicals that allow them to defend themselves. They don't want to be eaten. Um, and these anti-nutrients, so things like phytates, they often can bind to several micronutrients, and specifically in the context of amino acids. So amino acids are just your building blocks of protein. It's what builds the proteins in your body. It's what makes you. This is you. It's you're just made up a bunch of amino acids and proteins. So these micronutrients, these anti-nutrients, they can bind to things like zinc, iron, calcium. These micronutrients are really important for protein metabolism, and because they're binding to these micronutrients, it can greatly reduce the absorption of whatever essential amino acids are in those plant sources, which means you got to eat more. You got to eat way, 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 way more. So they're just not really great sources. Animal sources are always just going to be far, far, far superior. Um, if you insist on consuming more plant-based diet, you do have some options, but just know that you're just probably not going to get as much as you might need, and you probably will have to consume more. You can soak, ferment, sprout, cook very, very well these sources to be able to free up those some more of those essential amino acids in those foods so that you're getting them. So the other thing too on top of that is um, omega-3 fatty acids, and I'm sure some of you, probably all of you, have heard about omega-3s, and you're thinking salmon. A lot of, and that's good. It's a good way to think. But you'll also hear a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, you can make the omega-3s that you need. All you just got to need a plant-based diet." No, no. Uh, Plants do not contain EPA, DHA. They have something called alpha linoleic acid, which has to be converted, and it only can be converted to DHA. You're not going to get EPA. You really need to get these omega 3s, both DHA and EPA, from animal sources. Fatty fish, specifically, is going to be your best source. Sure, you can use a fish oil supplement, but most of them are crappy. So if you're going to go that route, make sure that the supplement you're using is very, very, very high quality. But now, why are omega 3s important? Well, you may have heard they're really important for brain health and cognition. So in infants, especially infants, it's critical for neurodevelopment. And low levels of DHA can actually lead to brain fog, depression, anxiety, and even Alzheimer's. So, these omega 3s are very, very important. And EPAs specifically are really important in immune response. So if you have an autoimmune condition or you have some chronic inflammation, EPAs can be very, very helpful with this. So just remember, plants do not have omega-3s. And what can be converted is just, it's less than 1%. It's just a poor source. You're just going to be better off getting them from animal sources. All right. And in that same vein, now we're going to talk about some vitamins and other minerals. And I'm going to look at both sides. So we're going to look at a few that are sometimes can be deficient in a carnivore diet, and then some that can be deficient in a vegan or plant-based diet. So we're going to start with one of the fat-soluble vitamins, which is vitamin A. And you might have heard that you need to eat carrots and sweet potatoes for vitamin A. The problem with that, as these sources only contain beta carotene. So that's the thing that gives sweet potatoes and carrots that orange color. The problem with that is that that's not what we need. That's not the form of vitamin A that we require. We require retinol. Retinol is only found in, you guessed it, animal sources. Beta carotene, which is in the plant sources, it has to be converted into retinol. And most of us do not have the enzyme that can effectively make this conversion to make it usable. Vitamin A is also a fat-soluble vitamin. And in the context of somebody who's eating, say, a raw vegan diet, or, oh my lord, this newfangled sugar diet, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. Sugar diet, you're not going to have you're not going to really have the fat you need to be able to absorb that. So you need that. Probably the most bioavailable and the richest source of vitamin A is in beef liver, but I'm not saying you have to eat beef liver, because you can get it in some other things. Egg yolks, butter, salmon, remember omega-3s, get vitamin A, great. You could get a lot of really great other things from salmon, like if you eat canned salmon, especially with the bones, you could get calcium, great, because sometimes that can be a little tricky to get on a carnivore diet. So just kind of keep that in mind. The most bioavailable, like I said, the most bioavailable sources of vitamin A is in animal sources. These sources contain the retinol that we need. We don't require the conversion. You just skip the bullshit and you get straight to what you need. Full stop. End of story. Vitamin C. Let's talk about vitamin C. Let's talk about the rampage of scurvy that we're seeing from all these people on a carnivore diet. It's just, everybody's got scurvy. We've just all got scurvy. Or do we? Because truth be told, those on a carnivore diet for 5, 10, 30 plus years, they're just, it's not there. It's not there. You can get vitamin C, you can get all of the vitamin C through a diet of fatty red meat. Period. You just don't. What about citrus, you say? Okay. Is that the best source? Is it? Is it? We talked about these anti-nutrients. Well, what's citrus? Well, it's a plant. Well, what do plants do to be able to protect themselves? They create chemicals so that they can protect themselves, these anti-nutrients. That's a problem. And in the context of vitamin C, especially if you're getting it from citrus or fruit or pretty much any plant source, because all plants contain carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are converted to glucose. Well, there's a problem. So what happens is that you have, so let's just talk about how we get enough vitamin C. Like, we know that there's just a low amount of vitamin C available in an animal, in animal protein. How how is it enough? How is it that we're not seeing all these people with scurvy? Well, it is well known that glucose, which is what you're eating when you consume carbohydrates. It is glucose, or it's broken down into glucose in some manner. Glucose is transported into the cell using a transporter known as GLUT4. Okay, nerdy, I know. Sorry, but I have to get a little nerdy. So it's transported into the cell using this transporter called GLUT4. However, in the context of a low or no glucose diet, that transporter's free. And it's free to allow for the oxidation process of vitamin C, so that the vitamin C, what little you're getting from your diet, is able to enter into the cell. Better absorption, right? You're not dealing with the anti-nutrients, you're not dealing with with the uh, the competition, bad word, but just for simplification, the competition of glucose to enter the cell. You don't have to deal with that. So that's how people on a carnivore diet aren't getting scurvy, because the little bit of vitamin C that they are getting from meat, which is there, you you're it's enough. It's enough. So, like I said, animal sources of vitamin C are pretty poor. You can get it again from liver, is an option. You could get it from raw dairy, is another option, or like raw or lightly cooked, like think black and blue beef is another option. So yeah, that's the thing with vitamin C. I found this super interesting when I was learning about this. It's super super fascinating, because I was under the impression that, like most of us, that you just don't get vitamin C, and you just don't get enough, and that doesn't seem to be true. The last thing I'm going to touch on is, we'll start with vitamin D and vitamin B12. So those two are often deficient on a vegetarian or vegan diet. And then calcium's kind of another one of those too, but we'll leave that for a different day. Um, Vitamin B12 can only be obtained through animal sources. So if you're on a vegetarian or a vegan diet, good luck. You're going to need a supplement. You're going to need to supplement, and it's going to have to come from an animal source. I think there might be, I do believe there is a vegan option, but it's a very poor option. A B12 deficiency is something super, super serious. B12 deficiency can lead to things like anemia, nerve damage, fatigue, cognitive decline. And nerve damage is almost always completely irreparable. Your body just, you need B12, and there are so many other things that B12 is really important for, even as in the context of cardiovascular health, which is a conversation for a different day. um yeah, you just need B12. So if heaven forbid you are on one of these vegan diets, I don't know why, but bless you if you are, you need to be on a B12 supplement of some sort. Period. Full stop. And let's talk about vitamin D really quick. So going back to vitamin A, vitamin D is also a fat soluble vitamin. The problem with plant sources of vitamin D is that it's not in the form that we need, which is vitamin D3. Plants have vitamin D2. So same issue that we had with the vitamin A, only being in the form of beta carotene in plants. Vitamin D in plants is only in the form of vitamin D2. So you have to deal with conversions and just eat meat, please. I mean, even if you're going to eat a mostly plant-based diet, please include animal protein in your diet. You're just going to be better off for that. But if you insist on a plant-based diet, I would include things like egg yolks and like fortified full-fat dairy. So you'll see if you buy milk in the store, it'll say fortified with vitamin D or vitamin D3. So you want to definitely include that. Um, Another option, although quality of your supplementation does matter, is cod liver oil. You can do that. It's also going to have the vitamin A in the form of retinol, which is good, and it's going to have those omega-3s, but quality does matter. And that's it about the vitamins. I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to bore you. So if you insist on eating a more plant-based diet, which I don't recommend, make sure that you're including nutrient-dense and more bioavailable sources. So try to include periodically things like beef, egg yolks, butter, fatty fish, full-fat dairy, as you tolerate it. And if you do consume plants, make sure that you're cooking them well, and maybe try to choose ones that are lower in anti-nutrients. I know that fruit specifically has a tendency to be more lower in anti-nutrients, but the problem with fruit is fructose, which is also for another video, so we will not go there. And also know that carbohydrates are not essential. Period, full stop. Not one single gram. You can live your whole life and not ever eat a single gram of carbohydrates. But fat and protein are essential. You need them. So just know that you don't have to eat carbohydrates. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There's no such thing as a good carbohydrate. Period, full stop. So for the most bioavailability of most of your nutrients, you want to choose animal-based sources. Include a variety, including beef, fatty fish, eggs, egg yolks. And if you can't do eggs, if you can do egg yolks, try to do at least egg yolks. I know some people have um, allergies to those things. Full fat dairy, again, as you tolerate it. Organ meats, as you need them, only if you're deficient, they're not required. Or you can do a supplement. They make desiccated versions of these organ meats. But, most people don't need them. Um, and put your diet should be primarily based around unprocessed animal products. It's going to be the most nutrient dense, it's going to have the most bioavailability. You're just going to have just much better health. Avoid eating highly processed junk food. That includes foods that I would consider to be junk food, even though they're technically carnivore or animal based. So think things like whey protein, things made with whey protein, things like that. I mean, you could have them, but they really shouldn't be the bulk of your diet. Um, they're just, you're just because they're just going to be so much better. Try to focus on whole, real food. Whole, real food. Even if you eat plants, just whole, real food, please. Um, and especially if you have absorption issues, you're on a diet and a calorie deficit, you're on one of these GLP-1s, so you're eating less. Again, nutrient density is so vitally important. So vitally important. Focus your diet around quality protein sources exclusively or most exclusively, because, I mean, some people can eat plants without problems, though not ideal. I don't eat them, but I'm not you. From animal sources. Get them from animal sources, eat nutrient dense food for optimal health, and just choose whole foods. They're going to be the most bioavailable. You're going to get the most out of them. Stay away from the junk food if you can. define moderation as being once or twice a year. I mean, if you need to use the word moderation, fine, do that because you're just going to be better off. I hope this cleared some things up. I'm sorry if I may have uh, rub some people the wrong way. Just please know that it came from a good place. That I just want nothing but the best health for everybody, which is why I'm on this journey. Which is why I decided to go back to college in my 40s to study nutrition. It comes from a good place. I just want nothing the best for all of you. So if you have any questions about any of this or any comments or anything, please feel free to go ahead and reach out to me. You can comment on this video. You can message me. Find me on Facebook if you want. We can hash things out, talk about it. And yeah, until then, eat nutrient dense food from high quality animal sources and, enjoy a good fatty ribeye. That's what I recommend. So get out, get some sun, eat some meat, and be healthy.